What's good? Coach Colin Castelli here with Shotmechanics Basketball, and welcome to our 2018 NBA Sleepers Point Guard Edition, brought to you by my guys over at FanDuel. With FanDuel, you can play, watch, and win all in one day. The season is simplified and the winning is amplified. FanDuel has new contests starting every day, the ability to easily play multiple contests, and no busted seasons. Start a league with just your friends or compete against players all over the planet to test your skills. And I personally love the one-day fantasy sports for the NBA on FanDuel, but if you're a fan of different leagues like the NFL, MLB, and a bunch of other ones, they've also got contests for that as well. And with paid contests starting at just $1, it is a great way to get into the game. Also, make sure you use the link in the description to sign up for FanDuel today. Play free until you win and get 20% bonus play with your first deposit, up to $50. Guys over at FanDuel get the content that we want to make, and they were awesome to sponsor this series. So if you can, go ahead and hit the link in the description down below, or visit fanduel.com/shopmechanics and sign up today. That way you can help support them as well. All right, so in this edition of NBA Draft Sleepers, we're going to be talking point guards. Now there's a lot of point guards that get a ton of notoriety kind of at the top end of the draft. What we wanted to do is find those point guards that are a little bit further down the draft board that are really going to make an impact really soon in the NBA. Today, I've got my top 3 point guards that I think are going to be an absolute steal for some GM in this NBA's draft. So starting off at number 1, we've got my man Trevon Duval. Now, for full disclosure, this might be a little bit of a homer pick because I've actually consulted and worked with Trevon Duval in the past, and you know, a lot of people really think that his jump shot's kind of what's holding him back, right? He didn't shoot a super high percentage this year at Duke, but the thing is, after working with him, I know that his jump shot is this close and that actually he is a really good shooter. It just needs to translate into the gameplay. All right, so even if we set the shooting aside, he is an unbelievably interesting draft prospect because number 1, he's crazy explosive, right? That athleticism as a point guard is something that a lot of teams are salivating to get, and that's something that Trey has. And then when you add in the fact that he has the ability to get his teammates involved and distribute the ball and be a willing passer, that's something that is desperately needed at the NBA level. All right, so one of the things that I always look for in a draft prospect is how do they perform under pressure? And if we look at Trey Duval in that, Duke versus Kansas Elite 8 game that just happened, he looked really, really good. He was beating guys off the dribble, he was getting to the rack, he was getting teammates involved. So overall, he really performed on the highest stage and really had a great game. And that's something that, I think is really overlooked a lot of times when it comes to draft prospects. People think about, the analytics a little too much, and they might deep dive into certain things here and there, but really it's how you perform on that biggest stage is, I think, probably the number 1 biggest thing you need. So long story short, I think Tricky Trey is going to be an absolute steal for some lucky GM in the NBA draft because he's just got all the packages that fit in today's NBA, and once we get that shooting down, it's game over. All right, so that takes us to our draft sleeper number 2, Anfernee Simons. Now, a lot of people don't even know who Anfernee Simons is. He actually just finished his high school season with IMG Academy. Now, I know right now some of you are headed down to the comment section to start commenting, I didn't know you could go to the NBA from high school. Well, Anfernee did an extra graduate year, a lot like Thon Maker did a few years back. So technically, he's eligible for the NBA draft, and he just declared. Now, I actually didn't know a ton about Anfernee, so I kind of did a deep dive into his game to see what it was all about, and I gotta tell you, I like what I see. The dude reminds me a lot of like Markelle Fultz mixed with a little bit kind of smoother jumper. Now, when I compare Markelle Fultz, I'm definitely more talking about the Markelle that we thought about, last year where he was the consensus overall number 1. Not quite on that level because he hasn't played that competition, but really, when we watch the way he moves, the way he slashes, the way he attacks the rim, the way he can kind of get, that mid-range game involved, he seems like a player who's kind of built in that same mold. And if you remember that same buzz kind of with Markelle last year, he was the consensus number 1 overall pick. So I think, even if Anfernee isn't on that same level, if he can get close, that's going to be an absolute steal for somebody in the NBA draft. And as we just saw with Markelle in his, his first game back in a long time, he actually looked really, really good. So, that kind of style of play definitely fits in the NBA, and so I could see Anfernee being a steal for some team somewhere. Now, we're all about shooting jumpers over here at Shotmechanics, and so the thing that I really like about Anfernee and where I see some massive upside is that his jump shot mechanics are already optimized for the NBA game. Now, we see a lot of players either from the high school or the college level make that jump to the NBA, and their three-point percentage just drops dramatically because they've trained their game to only shoot at the high school range. So once we scoot it out to the NBA range, it becomes really, really hard to stretch the floor, right? But as I watch Anfernee's mechanics, I can tell that he is right there to be able to extend his range further out really easily because he's got a smooth one-motion stroke where the ball reaches his set point as his knees are locking out, like all the great shooters in the NBA do. So that's a really, really good indication to me where, Markelle Fultz might have struggled a little bit on his jumper and needed to change. something like Anfernee might be a little further on the line, or further on down the line when it comes to shooting jump shots, just because his mechanics are already there. And admittedly, I don't know a ton about him, right? This might be way off, but just after kind of the deep dive I did in the last couple days, I really wanted to add him to this list because I think if it pans out, he could be a steal for some NBA teams. All right, so moving on to our draft sleeper number 3, I've got Jalen Brunson from Villanova. Now, this might seem a little bit odd, like, what do you mean he's a sleeper? Like, he's on one of the best teams in the country and they're steamrolling people in the NCAA tournament. But the thing is, if you look at most draft boards, Jalen Brunson has fallen a long ways, and he's kind of a consensus second rounder at this point. But what's crazy is when I look at Jalen Brunson's game, he is the consummate floor general, right? He's getting players involved. He's scoring the ball when he has to. He's, making sure that everyone on the team touches the ball and the ball keeps moving. He is really one of the keys to Villanova's run here, and I think he's really, really overlooked, especially in NBA circles. I know a lot of scouts are going to kind of overanalyze Jalen and talk about the speed and the athleticism and all that sort of stuff, but the thing about Jalen is that he can really command the team. I kind of think about him a lot like Fred VanVleet, who's now a pivotal role for the Raptors. In college, Fred was the same way. He scored when he had to, he got players involved when he needed to, and really just ran that team as a floor general. And now when you look at Fred with the Raptors, he's really one of the most integral parts of one of the best benches in the NBA, and the Raptors are looking like they're primed to make the NBA Finals. So when you look at Jalen, not only can he get his teammates involved, but also he can score on the inside with post-ups, score in the mid-range, and also stretch the defense out to 3, which really, scoring at all 3 levels is what you need from a point guard in the NBA. And if you can add that assist and kind of getting other people involved, even better. So I think that Jalen will probably fall in the second round, right? Just because it's not super flashy and sexy of a pick, but some NBA GM is going to look like a genius in 2 years when he's leading the bench, just like, Fred VanVleet, or maybe he's even worked himself into a starting role where he's alongside some NBA star and knows exactly how to give him the ball and how to play off of them. Because, that hoops IQ and being super, super smart is definitely going to translate into the NBA. All right, and those are our 2018 NBA draft sleepers at the point guard position. But what I want to do is know who you think is going to get slept on. So leave a comment in the comment section down below and let me know what player you think is going to make a big impact in the NBA who's maybe getting slept on in this year's draft. And again, big thanks to FanDuel. Go ahead, click the link in the description down below. Go support them because they support us and we can continue making awesome videos for you. And if you're new to Shot Mechanics, definitely want to hit that subscribe button. That way you get all our videos. And because YouTube is doing some sort of weird stuff, make sure you click that bell even if you're already subscribed, because they're not delivering our videos to about 40% of our viewers. So make sure you click that bell if you want to see every video as soon as it's up. That way we can be sure to get it to you ASAP. And again, I'm Coach Colin Castell with Shot Mechanics Basketball. Thanks for watching, and until next time, splash on.